Hello, hello. Hello. No, you won't.
And they won't, because there's a sideline garage also.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you now.
See, mine was trucks. The last two
We're making
weeks
progress.
they've done, and like I said, my truck sits out. I just can't take it. I mean, I never have nothing out there, and that's like.
I think we have the problem solved.
Barely, if you get
Okay.
the 3-car ones up there, you can get a small.
Okay.
car, but you can't get.
See if we can get back on track. Where was I?
That's what I said.
Started out as 24.
Okay, anyway, so, last item on the audio video wish list was the projector, which was from Pro Audio, 2804.99, and I think you have a spec sheet on it, but it's an LED bulb. It's much more high density than what we're dealing with here now. So,
Out of reserves, would you pay for it out of reserves?
Oops.
Yes, Charlie. Would we pay for that out of reserves?
Not sure on that one. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
That might be already budgeted, I think. I'll take a look at that before we finalize it.
What was bottom line, Pat?
2804.99. The motion?
I make a motion. We go with the 2804.99.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next item, the Welcome Center pool chairs replacement. This has been kicked around for a while. They recommended a set from Home Depot. If we get 12 of them right now, it's $359.88, and then there's $50 deductible for spending over $300. So we'll try out these 12 and see what that looks like, see how they hold up, and then we'll replace more as we need them.
I make a motion to buy the chairs from Home Depot.
I'll second it.
You got the right ones, Brittany?
Which ones were they?
The $58.98 a pair.
Okay,
All
okay,
right?
We're going with
The
the
teal
teal.
ones, the teal color.
okay.
Okay. Office copier and cabinet bids. It's an accent color copier. It's a $90 a month lease and a lockable storage cabinet for $440.
Now what are we going? Here we go.
Now what's wrong?
Double talk.
It's playing back when somebody's,
Playing back on you.
month, and the storage cabinet is $440. This was left for when David was here. Any questions, comments, motions?
Which storage cabinet is that?
That's this one here, black one.
On the copy.
That's $850.
No, that's not that one. It's a black one.
Second page.
There's a 458 and a 773.
We recommend a set from Home Depot.
So we're getting some sort of weird loop feedback because there's the delay from Zoom into YouTube. So if I mute YouTube on this end for the audio playback, then that goes away. But then I'm getting from the audience that there's people on YouTube teaching.
They can't hear it, and we're hearing ourselves.
I wonder if John's on YouTube as well as Zoom.
I'm not seeing.
No, I am not. I'm on just the Zoom meeting, and I have myself muted.
Speaking, and I'm only seeing the green box around us.
Because we had sent him a message to go on YouTube so he could hear us. So if he's got YouTube on as well as
He just said that he's
Zoom.
only on Zoom.
But there's some
John?
sort
Yeah,
of.
can you hear me?
This issue at the workshop meeting too. Remember that weird loop feedback?
All right, I can live with the feedback as long as they can hear.
Can
The
you hear
cabinet
me?
was the one, the conference credenza at 45880. It's the white one. I thought it was the black.
Hey, Pat, so it is it's actually the second one right here that I showed you, but that was back in February when it must have been like on sale,
minute.
but the price did change. That's why, I got a few more, different selections to pick from,
This-
along with the dimensions.
So it is this black one?
Yeah, but I have the color that it's going to be on the right-hand side, the Newport gray.
Right here.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, it's hard to see.
Yes.
It's hard to see without a color copier.
But now it's 850?
Now it's 850.
It went from 450 to 850?
450 to 850, really?
Because back in February, it was on sale, so.
Sure.
Is this a lockable cabinet?
It is, yes.
What about the other one for 45880?
So that one,
Is that lockable?
Yeah.
I believe it is, but it's a lot smaller
smaller.
than the other one.
Smaller, yeah,
The current shelving unit that I do have right now is 70 by 17 by 34. So, the one that would closely match those measurements would be the original one that I did present.
Okay.
Is this one on sale? Looks like it had 1,200 and it's now to 850?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See
it
the
might be
small
on sale
print?
again,
Yeah.
yes, but just a different price this
Yeah, if
time.
you hurry up, you can probably get it for 1,000. All right, well, we probably have to stick with one similar to the size she's got, so,
Maybe a suggestion, approve a not to exceed and let us monitor to the next month, because we're
Right.
already getting into Black Friday, holiday sales.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
a good
Maybe
suggestion.
it goes on sale again.
Yeah, could, yeah.
So if we're going to approve one, just approve the not to exceed, and we'll monitor and purchase it when we see it go down.
okay. All right, can we have a motion then on this one?
Go ahead.
Change that.
I'll make a motion to do a not to exceed the 850 plus tax,
Yeah.
and they will monitor it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Printer.
Printer now,
And the
right?
printer, $90 a month lease is probably a better way to go than buying it outright.
I make a motion, we go along with the installment plan of $90 for the printer.
Just FYI, if you do the lease, it's not a lease to own. So if we did go through with the lease, we won't end up owning it in the end.
That's right, so
Yeah,
in a
just
couple, in a
FYI.
couple of years, you want to change it, we can change it, just not pay the lease.
Right, okay.
Okay. Motion was made, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right. Get a couple bids from Newell that have been sitting around. First one is the west side of the property line, get rid of the Brazilian peppers along the fence line, and some sea gapes in the back in the northwest corner have to be trimmed, and trim all the cocoa plums that remain overgrown. This is above and beyond the normal trimming that is in the contract. He also does kill the roots, drill the trees and poison them so they don't come back. That bid is for $52.50. Let's get both of them.
I have a question on that one.
Go ahead.
He says trim all the cocoa plum that remain. Most of the cocoa plum, from my understanding, is on owner's lots, not common.
I don't know if we have, I don't know if there's some out there, I don't know.
Yeah,
I can
okay.
ask him about that.
Yeah.
The second item was tree trimming, clean up the coconut palm trees in the town center. Trees are weak and dropping coconuts prematurely. It should be injected for deficiencies by a pest control company of our choice. He said he would do it for $35 each. the bid for trimming them is $375, and I would recommend we let him do the whole thing, so we don't get involved in another situation where we got two people doing the same job.
I agree.
So I think that's the only two bids I have. I'm waiting for bids on mulching. Mulch is no longer included in his bids. It's as needed, so I'm trying to get a bid for that, but you want to get this place mulched before the end of November. So can we have a motion on these two, one for the $52.50 and the other for $375 plus the $35 each for the...
So moved.
I'll second it.
Or second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Pat?
Yes.
Someone texted me that they did not hear the bids on the chairs and the carpet. Could we just restate those prices so that...
The chairs, the
There are two of them for $60.
The chairs for the town center was 14,000.
No, not those.
The pool chairs,
The 58,
$58.98 a pair.
$58.98 a pair, and we're getting 12.
On the
So it
chairs.
comes to $380.
And the carpet bid,
What?
they also wanted, they were asking about the carpet bid, what the total
The
was.
carpet bid was $31,370.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay? All right, we got the tree bids.
Those bids.
All right, next one is the Laguna Creek sign proposal. These bids are about 2 years old. I imagine that we should rebid these, or at least go back and see. It's pretty doubtful that those prices are going to hold.
Think?
So if we can follow up on that and see what the actual price is going to be. If they're the same, I'd be amazed. Any comments? Okay, the next item, discuss changes to the AR with reference to drainage requirements for paver installations. It's used to be that you had to keep the green space between all the lots. Somehow or another, that has slipped away over the years, and the architectural committee, in doing some research with the county, we should have a space between each lot to allow for drainage and water runoff, or this problem's going to get worse and worse in here with just not being able to get the water into the common area. So it's our recommendation that we change that. If you're going to pave your lot, any lot that gets paved is going to have to leave 3 foot on each side to allow for drainage and allow for mowers to get through, or if it's a planting, it'd have to be an impervious, like rock or something, so water can flow through. Jim, did you have any comments, or Jack?
According to the county, any stormwater area, according to the stormwater management, that any swale that's put in there as a swale, we cannot build into it, pave into it, or even touch it, even though you own it. There'd be no pavers of any kind put in it. There is a 5 foot setback or easement that we can't touch. Now, we have some people that's done that, which has created a big problem. So the 3 foot is fine on areas that aren't in the stormwater management area. So, but there'd be an exception for 5 feet in any swale area, stormwater management area. So other than that, it would be fine.
I don't imagine we have too many where the swales run between the lots. Most of the swales are behind the lots, it's actual swales, but there are a lot that have actual drainage easements that run, because I know there's one beside my lot, on the one side is an actual drainage easement, and I was just looking at one of the ones you sent up here this morning, and there's, the proposal is to pave over half of the drainage easement.
Most of those are okay, Pat, but the ones that are in concern, that's caused us a problem this summer through the rainy season, and most everybody here is not down here in the rainy season, is in B.
Well, we can't unring the bell, but I think it's universal in any state in the nation that if you cannot create a problem with your water runoff running into another lot. So if we have a situation where somebody paves their lot and it does create a problem for a neighbor, they're going to have to correct that at their expense, or the HOA is going to correct it and then
Yeah,
have to go after you.
That's what the man, the agent down there told me when I went down last week, because I mentioned that we had that problem in B. B89 put pavers back into the swale, even though he owns back to the middle of the swale, he couldn't do it, evidently he did not know it. When he did that, 84, which is on the other side of him, they had already been in the swale. I feel kind of sorry for that guy, because he just bought that lot and he didn't inherit the problem. But through the wet area, the wet season this year, it became a major problem. It backed water up and compromised 5 lots. Now, according to him, what you just said, he has to take it out, and if he does not take it out, it's the board's responsibility to tell him, and if he doesn't take it out then it's the board's obligation to have it taken out and assess him the bill. Now, through the summer,
In the swale.
I was here through Irma,
County said that they don't come in.
and that's the highest this water in this park has ever been when Irma came through. Behind Gary Schreiner, in that whole swale and sump area there, that water retention area, all the way up to behind Frank and Kathy's house, which is the top end of that swale. No water ever got up there and impeded that house or those lots. But with 89 putting in them pavers, they were in water. They had a major problem. Jim and I went up there, and some of the other architect members went up there, and Joe walked with us a long time.
And the county does not say past the entrance to.
After the water went down over the top of the gravel on
County doesn't say
B89,
anything.
we timed it,
County doesn't say. It's
and
up
it
to us
took
to maintain.
2 hours and 20 minutes to drain the rest of that water.
And listen, I'm
out
gonna
of there.
drop off. It's useless for me to be
So
here
it's-
because I
it's-
can't vote. I
It's
can't do
bad,
anything.
and it definitely
And I've
has to
got
be
work
fixed.
do, So if I'm useless on
Okay,
the
Jack,
meeting,
thank
then
you.
there's no sense
All
in
right,
being
folks.
here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I can't, unless they want to fix it. If they want to fix it, fine.
What's somebody say?
we can hear Joe.
John Genovese?
That's all we hear is you talking.
He gets dropped off because he can't really hear.
John did here?
Okay.
Joe, one other thing, lot 101B, 101, and 100.
I can hear you. You can't hear me.
That was in, that's Hayworth's old house, which is Carol's, and the lot next to him, which is Jim Kernett's old lot. They put pavers all over their lot, crowned them, and then diverted the water right over against her, which they should not have went to the property line, but they didn't.
Well,
So that has to be resolved, but I think they are talking. And then again, on D, 102 and 103, they haven't done their pavers yet, but I think they are going to talk, and we're going to talk to them, see if they can't modify that so we don't create a problem. You guys should have copies of those. I asked Brittany to put them in your packets.
Pat, I don't really know if we need a motion or a note, but I would like to see the architectural committee pay a lot of attention to these drainage maps before they approve putting in pavers and trees on that 5-foot boundary.
I think that will save us a major headache down the road if we do that.
well, the 3 foot on each side should really take into consideration any easement. The easements, I mean, I looked at the plans, the easements run between the lots.
Well, 3 foot on the easements, or on the lots, is fine, But in the water runoff area, in storm water, they can't be, it's 5 foot. That's not me or our suggestion, that's what the law says. That's what that paperwork and all that says.
Is the 5 feet, is that on each half of the center line, or is that 5 feet total?
5 feet on each lot, so it'd
Okay.
be 10 foot total. Now, he pulled that up on the map when I was down there, and he showed me paperwork pertaining to this place that I didn't even know existed. It started in 1995, before, 3 years before it was ever even started. But he said it's 5 foot easement, even though the lot's back up against there and they're private owned, that's not 5 foot easement we can't touch.
Are you talking about backing up or between the side, Jack?
No, that's in the back. The sides, as long as,
That's where the confusion's coming in. The back is one thing, but the
yeah,
side
the
between
sides, I think 3 foot on the sides, we're okay.
Okay, because, I mean, when you said the back, I said, wait a minute, now we're going two different, we're talking about apples and oranges here.
No, the back ones are 5 foot.
3 foot on each side for all lots, all right?
Yeah, and I think that should work.
And the back, the back you have 20 feet, but I agree, some of those lots in the back, the 20 feet is in the swale, that can't be
No.
encroached
And
on.
that's what 89 did, and I don't believe that the man realized what he was doing when he did it, but he did it, so it's created a major problem. But I think we need to look at each full paver job real close and check water flow on each job independently. Save us a lot of headache.
Okay, I agree, I think we're on the same page, like an old friend of mine who was a judge said, when you want your case, stop talking.
I do have a question.
I get the hint, Pat.
Pat, I do have a question.
Yes. You're gonna need to get the microphone, we'll never hear you.
Thanks, John. Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Tom Simmons, and I live at B101, my wife and I, Patty. I'm sorry, I haven't met you, sir. I'm Jack. Jack, hi. Hi, Jack. I heard you speaking about what we did on B101, and I have a little problem with some of that, so I'd like to clear that up. Jim, thank you. We filed with the Architectural Committee, with Jim, and did everything that was requested of us from the Architectural Committee, as well as the county, when we filed the permits for all that we did on our lot. Now, we did pavers, we did the issue with the shed, we did drainage, we paid extra for drainage out the back into the common area. That's all filed, pictures taken, we have all of that data. We have the property was surveyed, we completed all of that and was all signed off. And we went to the property line with the pavers, which was allowed, and it was discussed, and it was allowed, and it's still allowed right now, I believe, for anybody else until this moment in time to be able to do that without any issue with our neighbors. And of course, we understand that we have, Carolyn's a wonderful person, great neighbor, and we are really upset about this issue, of course, and we'd like to try and find some solution for it. But my question would be this, is number one, we did not do anything without permission. And I think Jim can speak for himself, how many times he was over at a lot when we had questions, and he came over every single time and we discussed it. And we went forward with our plan with permission from county and from architectural. So my question would be is, if we're going to make a rule now that says that lot owners have to dig up or change their lots, 3 foot each side, for example, or 3 foot total or whatever. My question number one would be, is that apply to all people in the park, or is that going forward? Or what are we doing here? Because that was an unknown rule after the fact, after we spent $35,000 putting in pavers and doing, a shed and everything else too. So we made a huge investment in this community, plus another $10,000 in trees, et cetera. All of those had to be approved and measured off and put in exactly where the architectural committee said we could put it in, and we discussed it, and we discussed plant types and tree types, et cetera. So my question to you is, am I going to have to undo this huge investment that my family has made in this property?
I think part of your question was, is this going forward? We're talking about going forward as far as the 3 foot. We're not asking you to rip out 3 foot on each side of your pavers or anything. The other part of that is, if someone has gotten pavers on, paved their whole lot, or whatever they've done has created a water problem, a runoff problem on the neighbor's lot, then we're asking that be corrected by the homeowner.
Okay, well, and then my question would be is that if we could determine exactly what all the circumstances involved in the runoff, in the issue of the water, be investigated so that we may have all the facts, because there's a lot of things that are being left out here. So I think that a full investigation of the issue would be pertinent. And that's all I'm asking for. And obviously, an expert or experts to come in and actually make those determinations. Because when you start to, wield this rulemaking thing here, this could be quite expensive for a lot of people, obviously. So there could be a lot of people placed in distress because of this. So we need to investigate and get all the facts. That's what I'm asking for now, before we make determinations as to what exactly is going to happen.
Well, along with that, one of the things I have in my notes after we get through the rest of the agenda is the bringing Yates back in to finish that drain swale that they cut. They couldn't do any more than that because it was too wet, and see if that helps get that water out of that area, because the lots are back to back. There's no common area between them.
We're talking about two different areas of B. You're talking about B59, I think, right?
Yeah, he's next to Hayward.
Oh, okay.
I'm 101, so that has nothing to do with B51.
So the water problem is it your water is draining to Carolyn's?
Well, that's what's alleged right now. And so what I believe is the case is that we have arekas that were planted previous to the current homeowner. And we also have gutters that drain off of the house that are not the water's not being moved to the back. And there's issues that need to be corrected that are not the current homeowner's problem, fault, if you will. But they are definitely been enhanced by the fact that our lot, which used to be almost all grass, is now there's not a lot of grass on it now because we have pavers. But my lot was draining, or was the drainage area for that house. And now that we put these pavers down, that issue has become enhanced, because before, where we would just have a swamp behind the rig, now we have no place for that water to go. And it's coming off of the house, and it's coming off of the gutters, and it's not going to the back, it's going to the front. And there's a proposal before the architectural committee to move the water to the front of the street, and I would request that not happen, because it's just going to push the water out into the street where it can't go anywhere, because there's no drains there, because the drains are in the back in the common area, as we all know. And as far as the crowning is concerned, you said that we crowned our lot differently. And I'm sorry, but I disagree with you, sir, because, well, we follow the crown of the pad that was initially poured, and they have to follow that, because you can't change that unless you're going to bust it all up. And so all the pavers will drain to the side and go to the back. And we can run a line and a laser line, I'm sure, in the investigation that'll be done, and you'll see that that was complied with, as well as drainage that was done at the request of the architectural committee from the shed and the shed's gutters to the back. And we have photos, and that was done and paid for by my wife and I. So the rig was not on the lot. So the lot was just bare, if you will, this whole season. So we just came back from a trip, so just to let you know. So in other words, what I'm requesting is investigation for facts, and then investigation for possibilities to be able to solve the problem, because we like to solve the problem too. We didn't know there was one until we received pictures, et cetera, and videos. And we were aghast. We couldn't believe this happened. But now, after looking at it and having several experts come by and explain what's going on, I believe it conflicts with what was just reported here. So I would like to have an investigation, if you folks don't mind. I'd appreciate that for the facts.
I'd like to comment on your request, sir. I'm Dwayne Truitt. I'm the representative from the developer for Laguna Creek. So we're dealing in real time right now with drainage, design, permits, and so forth. And I think we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel on anything, but the governing documents that this whole community has to follow are two things. One is the plat, which lays out all the easements, including drainage easements, utility easements, road easements, et cetera, are all on the plat. And those easements define what you can and can't do in those areas. And then the second governing document is the development order, which was issued by the county way back when, as each section was developed. We've got one now for Laguna Creek. And the development order also refers to drainage requirements and shows what is and isn't supposed to be in given areas. So what I would suggest is that the Architectural Review Committee go back and look at those original documents, the plat and the development orders that were issued, and then whenever somebody wants to make an improvement on their lot, you look at that. It's not us creating new rules out of whole cloth. These are the rules we have to follow. It sounds like perhaps we might not have been following them like we should have. Dealing with conditions that have already been created, that's a separate subject. I think we have to figure out what's fair and equitable on that, but it's certainly going forward, we need to use as guidance what's already imposed upon the community.
Mr. Tenants?
I can say something to this as well.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm Randy Redmeyer, C65. This came up a few years back that I got a permission from the HOA to extend a wall and vegetation out, and they got approved. I did it. Then the county came in and says, I can't do that. Had to remove it. So I went down to county, they looked at it, they pulled up the development orders, and the development orders in this facility says all drainage easements are the responsibility of the HOA. And that means that if you got approval from the architectural committee to go all the way to the line, you're legitimate and it's okay, which it really isn't because you're going into the easement. There's a lot of responsibility these people need to start accepting and not just arbitrarily say, oh, you're my buddy, go ahead and run these papers all the way out. And I'm not sure if that's happening, but it looks like there's like a concrete driveway going down through some of these lots as you drive through here. So, but anyway, bottom line is the drainage easements is responsible of us, the HOA, and if they approve it, then it onus goes back on them. So, and that's all I'm saying.
DJ Rube, A33. I'm a non-voting member of the Architectural Committee. We as the committee, none of the members, I believe, have ever seen a development order. So being given copies of that would be beneficial. Some of the problems that are occurring, I believe, are because of the last revision of the R&Rs. It was adopted for a 0 lot line. So we have trees planted too close to the road because it was approved that we would not, that the barriers that we had before written into the Rs and Rs were taken out. So the 2.5 foot on the sides, the 5 foot on the back, trees 10 feet from the road, things like that, you know, we had no authority to deny that.
Did that come out of our new ones?
What?
We'll have to look at that.
So
Remember that coming out?
the architectural committee over the summer has been reviewing those. And part of our recommendation is going to be that those prior easements or whatever you want to call it come back in. You can't plant things on the lot line, you know. It's not so much in pavers. Pavers are supposed to be porous so the water can drain through them. I know that's slower than just into grass, but we'd like to go ahead and finish our review of the Rs and Rs and then submit them to the board for approval. But if we could, and I don't know how this would be possible, but we would like to reinstate those barriers, you know, for the 2.5 feet on each side, the 5 foot in the back, trees being planted so far away. We would like to go back to using those as our guidelines.
Look, you're correct. The architectural committee has to follow the R&Rs that are adopted by the board. But also part of the architectural committee's responsibility is if you see something like that, we expect you to bring it to our attention so that, because you're dealing with it every day. We always deal with it after the fact or in abstract. So if you have a recommendation, some will be approved, some probably won't. But that's what you should do. That should be the process. And I think that would work very smooth. Just like they come up and talked about this 3 foot, we think it's a good idea because we can see the problem getting worse and worse.
Well, when this thing started out, okay, when this thing started out with the pavers are not considered to be a permanent structure. Concrete is, and it's always been you could pave out to your property line. It's not a good old boy club. Everybody can do it and everybody's been doing it. Common sense comes into play. If you look between my lot and Rex's, we shot it down through there and every bit of that water drains to the lake. It stands nowhere. It's up to you to make sure that the contractor is putting them in the way they should be.
Let me, one comment on 102 over there in 100 Carroll. That lot, I've known that lot because my friends used to own it, which they bought it from. That lot was flat. When Rock Solid puts pavers down, he crowns that lot with sand. So he diverts the water from one side, from the crown in the middle to each side. Now, 100 had no problem with water till they did that, and nobody realized how much water was going to come off of that. So, you know, I think the solution there would be fairly easy to fix with a drainage pipe, or just take out the first couple rows of them pavers, put a drain pipe in it, cover them back up, and let that water go through maybe an 8-inch pipe from the front of her lot to the back. And I think that would solve the problem there. But we definitely have to start looking at stuff on individual lots when we do them. But all those paperwork that I looked at, it's actually your guys' responsibility to inform us. Because the county guy and the state guy told me, he said, it is the HOA's responsibility to do all this stuff. Then you let us know. And if we don't have the documents to look up, we're the bad guys without being the bad guys.
Well, I don't think there's any bad guys here. I mean, we're all trying to figure out what we need to do, not only to comply with county regulations, even state regulations, because that covers drainage too, but also just to not damage each other's property. So I don't think there's any bad guys here. I would caution that just because you have a building permit doesn't mean you comply with all the requirements. Our experience has been the building permit reviewers do not go back and look at development orders and plats. They just look to see if it meets code. And if it meets code, but the plat and the development orders are site-specific. They're not part of a generic code. So just because you have a building permit doesn't mean you actually comply. So I think you're right. It's up to this HOA, which the board is the leader of right now, to figure out what those rules are and make sure the people that are on the AR committee are equipped with what the tools they need to help us carry out those rules and then respond to any specific, lot-specific problems that arise.
All right, two things. Mr. Timmons, I think you have a legitimate request that we should take a look at that and see exactly what the solution should be. So we'll undertake that. The second thing is, what are your thoughts about we change the AR to 3 foot per side on this point forward on all pavers?
Absolutely.
Is there a motion?
Also move.
Well, I would add to that to make sure that the ARs are in compliance with the plat and the development orders.
And the copy can be available to the AR committee.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm questioning though, when did we actually take all this stuff out of there? 'Cause I don't remember taking, the 10-foot setback on trees off the street.
I don't know.
Because of pavers.
Those ARs were worked on for 2 years before I got back on the board.
Yeah, I don't know,
I'm going to look it up.
Judy, it was Judy, I think we need to check that.
Huh?
The last revision, I think it was taken out.
Was it? I don't know.
Because on the trees
Well,
especially.
that was the whole point. A lot of stuff was changed on there for whatever reason, anyhow. All right, Yo's got a motion on the floor. I don't know where we'll find the development orders. That's about 60 pages. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. You got that one?
Question.
Yes.
Pat,
Wait a minute.
under the new ARs, on easement areas, there shall be no construction of any permanent improvements, additions, or modifications that cannot easily be removed in the easement areas of any lot. Easement areas are defined as within 20 feet of the rear property line and with 2.5 feet of the side property line.
So it was already in there?
Yes, that's the latest.
When was that dated?
That was the one that was approved
We just
last,
passed.
2 years, a year ago or so?
Passed a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Papers aren't permanent. I don't think papers are considered permanent.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
That part about the easements is in there, but it's not in correlation with other areas of the document. When you read about pavers, when you read about trees, when you go to specifics about concrete edging and things like that, all those measurements are gone away. But what I got up to talk about was the lot owners that go ahead with projects. They either submit their request late and the work is already done, or they just do it. And, you know, it's just out there, so we need some way to work on that and remedy those issues. We have a lot of new owners in here, and I know they get a copy of the rules and regs, but I don't know how many read them. But we've seen a huge increase in people just acting like the art committee doesn't exist or exists as an afterthought.
Thank you.
Just for your information, these were adopted on 12/18 of '20.
All right, we never had a vote on this yet.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 2020 audit acceptance. Judy?
Well, we have, the Spires Group has done our audits for us for many years, I want to say about 8 years. And we just now got the audit done about 3 weeks ago because of COVID for them as well. So they struggled all year long trying to get the audit done. But it has been done, it's been checked, and I need to have the audit accepted by the board so we can post it on the website for you all.
I will so move.
Second.
One question. We always got a PDF, I know we have a PDF draft. To put it on the website, I mean, you shouldn't have to scan this thing. I'm sure Spires can send us a final audit in a PDF format so it can be put on the website?
Yeah, I got it yesterday and I sent it to,
Okay.
we have an email address for all of our audits, go through the drilling, get done and everything. I got it yesterday and sent it to them yesterday.
All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay,
Need a second.
the second on the audit?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next item. Discuss the CenturyLink proposal. A few years back, we sent out a questionnaire on the cable TV, and 75% of the respondents said they would like to see bulk internet. So with Dwayne's construction going on, he reached out to CenturyLink, and they made a proposal to us to do fiber optics internet with a speed of 940 megabits per second, a price of $40.95 a month that is guaranteed not to go up for the life of that contract or any renewal, which is quite a bit different than Comcast. We still have time left on our Comcast contract, and we cannot just break that contract. So I did speak to Comcast yesterday. They finally called me back about a proposal for, internet here. But what they're proposing, they would give us a bulk package on internet if we renew our, and extend our cable contract. So it'd be 2 10-year contracts again. The TV would be similar to the boxes we have right now, but they would be high definition, and their bulk internet would be 2 hotspots, one at the Welcome Center and one at the Town Center that people could come and use, which was really ridiculous.
That's nothing.
It's not even bulk. Anyhow, so for now, it's a dead issue, but in the future, I think it's probably something that we'll look into again. Yes, sir, Mr. Timmons. Simmons, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry, I cannot hear.
17 months, right?
My question would be is how long is the contract with Comcast? How long do we have to wait?
17.
Comcast is, I mistakenly thought was up in 2023, but it's actually 2025, February 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had renegotiated the contract in 2015 and got a lower rate and got them to knock the 8% per year increase down to 4%, plus they rebated us about $25,000. And we had actually 8 years left on the existing contract, so we extended it 2 more years, but it's to 2025.
Just speaking personally, if it was put to a vote, if you will, for the residents here, I think that if they were like me, they would probably say, please do not extend the contract. And let's look for somebody else that we can deal with and hopefully get a better deal. And it sounds like we found somebody, but we're just a little out of sequence.
Stuck, yeah.
Right.
I actually thought we were done in 2023. I thought we had 17 months left, but then yesterday when I was talking to the person from Comcast, I pulled out the contract and it was 2025, so, but, yeah, I mean, Comcast and cable's getting like a dinosaur.
Yes, and if there was a vote, I would vote against the Comcast, so I thought I'd just give my opinion, and I think that there's quite a few people that feel the same way.
Yeah, plus the other thing, they were going to use the same cabling we have in here. I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, they had to put boosters on my coach just for me to get TV at the back television. So, no.
Thank you.
I would like to add, though, that we probably shouldn't look at this as an either-or thing. It's either Comcast or CenturyLink, because Comcast right now is just cable TV, basic cable, and you can upgrade it if you want, but it's not broadband internet. So if the desire is to have broadband internet, I think that's a separate issue from cable. Now, if you have broadband internet, then you also have the option of using streaming TV services over the internet. That's what I have at my house. I mean, I have CenturyLink, and I use streaming TV, and it works great. I love it. And you can have any choice of any service you want at prices from as low as like $25 a month for cable to, or, you know, streaming TV up to whatever you want to spend. But I think if the desire is to have broadband internet, then we should consider the CenturyLink proposal on its own. And if that means that the assessment would have to go up because a bulk agreement is everybody pays whether you use it or not, then that becomes the issue, you know, that we have to decide, do we want to do? If the desire is to just keep the assessment, you know, where it is now, that's fine, that's legitimate. But that means we don't get bulk internet until we're done with Comcast in whatever, 2 years or 3 years. I guess 3 years.
I ran the numbers because I did work with this on the budget, and to just include the CenturyLink would increase on its own over $100 a quarter for the assessment, just on the CenturyLink.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Pardon?
That sounds about right. And again, if the desire is to get broadband internet, regardless of what you're going to use it for, then we should consider that on its own. If you don't, I mean, first of all, we talked to CenturyLink, and not only would they not run non-bulk fiber into anywhere in the community, but they wouldn't run it into Laguna Carib because we didn't have enough, you know, users to make it worth their while for the capital investment. With only 137 lots. But when we, you know, Pat asked them to propose for all 611 lots, they said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Just as an FYI, their actual cost to put in the fiber would run over $2 million. So it's a pretty big number, and that's why you know, they want to get, you know, a bulk service. That's the only way it's worthwhile for them. Now, also in perspective, I don't live in a community that has bulk internet or cable, either one. And I get the CenturyLink internet-only service, and I don't get cable television. That runs for individuals $65 a month. So the $40.95, as you can tell, is a pretty significant discount. But, you know, if we want to add internet, that's what it's going to cost. If we can live without it for another 3 years, I mean, that's a legitimate decision.
Pat, doesn't Comcast have like a non-compete on their internet as well as their cable TV?
A what?
Like a non-compete, in other words, you can't put somebody else in here?
Yeah, we can't bring another bulk service provider.
Is that both internet and TV, or just TV?
According to them, it's both.
That's what I thought. I thought I read it in the contract.
In there-
But if they're not currently providing bulk internet, and apparently won't provide bulk internet, that sounds indefensible.
Well, they said they will provide bulk internet, just whether or not what they are willing to provide would be acceptable.
Well, a couple of hotspots isn't bulk broadband internet, I'm sorry, it just isn't.
Well, if you want to take it up with their attorney, I mean, I had a long conversation with her, and David and I had a conversation with them, and they were adamant that in their contract, it says they provide cable, digital, and I forget what else, and that we could not bring in another bulk provider to supply it.
We do have two
So-
hotspots from it.
Pardon?
I believe, don't we have two hotspots, one here and one at the Welcome Center?
Well, not hotspots, that
But I
people
mean-
can log into the
Yeah,
internet.
they come in
Yeah,
here,
right.
yeah, here or there, yeah.
I lost my train of thought now.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. Anyhow, I don't.
Did we have Mitch Haler weigh in on this, on the matter of contract compliance?
I'm sorry?
Did we ask Mitch Haler to weigh in on the contract compliance aspect of this?
I didn't on this one, no.
I think that would be useful to do.
I thought you sent an email and you said that you had two attorneys look at it.
Yeah, what we looked at was whether or not we could actually early terminate the Comcast service, and the attorneys that I talked to said, not without a fight, and basically you'd have to litigate it, which nobody wants to do that. But I didn't ask specifically about a prohibition against bulk internet when they don't currently provide bulk internet.
This is his.
It's a different issue, I think.
Well, didn't someone just say, Gary, didn't you say that you read that it said bulk also, bulk internet?
I
in the?
didn't say anything about
I thought
bulk.
someone
I
did.
just-
No, it says digital,
Okay.
digital. And their point is that they provide that service here right now, as of yesterday, they've got 43% market share in this park, which goes up seasonally, because some people shut it down and turn it back on. And that was her point, that we do provide this service, albeit not bulk. You would be taking customers away from us, so I'm sure it would be a very interesting case. And I don't know, it would have to be both, because we can't early terminate, and I wouldn't even propose just to shut down the TV on, without community input. Just because, I don't use it. And I don't think that anybody's going to be stomaching a $100 increase just for the internet.
Per quarter.
Even though personally, it would be less for me because I'm paying more than that to Comcast. But their rates are all over the place.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so there's nothing really we can do on that at this point. I can talk with Mitch and see what he thinks about that, about the compete there. Update on the budget. There's not really a whole lot right now. We're still tracking very good we're under budget, again, on spending in September. Most of the large expenses we've approved, we're going to be coming out of reserve funding, so it's not going to impact where we were. I need to make a couple more checks, and I suspect that we should have a budget next week ready to adopt. I need a date next week that we can do this. What's that?
Is this factored into?
No, that was already in, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That was the,
How about Wednesday the 3rd?
Wednesday, oh, wait, I think one day next week.
I can't do Friday, and any other day.
July, what the hell am I doing July? October, November. Wednesday the 3rd works for me.
Works for me.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay.
Steve?
I'm good. 11:03.
In the town center,
Yep.
10 o'clock.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get our sound figured out by that point.
All right.
Wednesday, the 3rd?
Wednesday the 3rd, 10 o'clock. Should be a short meeting, just to go over the budget and adopt it. We'll send out the email. I'll get the draft out to Brittany, and she can send it out so people can look it over. Promise you, it's not going to hurt you. Okay, two other things before we slip into the comments. Brittany, can you get Yates out here? I think we ought to get two things done. We spend a lot of money getting that swale cleaned out, and it would pay us to at least annually get him in there to brush hog it, keep it down. Gary pointed out the other day that it's, starting to grow in, and I also went back and looked behind my place, and that stuff has grown pretty quick. So if they brush hog it, it'll be a lot less expensive than having to go in there and regrade it all and cut out and chip all those trees down. And the other thing I would like him to, either I'll go down and meet with him, is finish the drainage swale he cut from B over to the behind Gary Schreiner's house, and see what we can do to reestablish that swale. So perhaps if we can get that water someplace to go, we might help alleviate some of the problems over there in B. So if we can set something up, and then I'll meet with him, and whoever else wants to meet with him next week sometime, if he can come out.
Would he
Okay.
also look at Simmons' lot, between Simmons and, between 100 and 101?
I don't know if Yates would be the guy to look at that. You're probably going to need somebody, little engineering background to take a look at that problem. Okay, like swale and drainage, that takes care of it. Okay, anything from the board?
What about the cars, the gate? It's like 8 times to open the gate, go up and down, some of these cars working.
The swipe card?
Swipe cards, yeah. Is we getting any better?
So every time I call customer service and I go outside and I test all different types of cards, it always works. So I'm still in the process of trying to work on when I see it happen, physically, I'll make the call right away. Anytime that it does happen, it's like super early in the morning when they're in Central Time, so they're not open yet. But all the cards are doing the same thing, whether it's old or new. So I'm still working on that right now.
Yeah, because like I said, sometimes mine does 3, and then one day it came in here and did 8.
Yeah.
You're going up and down with it.
Can't get the hit, right?
I guess it's trying to keep me out. I was like, okay.
But just keep in mind that you can swipe your card either on the owner's side or on the call box itself. There's, I don't know if that one's any different, because I haven't had anyone really use that side as often. But you can also swipe your card on the call box as well, and that should also open the gate.
Thank you.
Pat, before we go to comments, let me just provide a real brief update on our Laguna Creek construction. I think a lot of people are interested in that. We are presently into the dry season now, which has really helped tremendously in terms of speeding up our construction. The early part of our construction was during the wet season, and we had to do a lot of dewatering to put in those deep sewer lines. So things are picking up quite a bit right now. We anticipate having what we call Phase 1, the first 80 lots of the 137 done by approximately January 31, and ready for, sales and occupancy. And then the Phase 2 of the other 57 lots would be finished a little later in the spring, probably the March, April timeframe. We expect to have our pool amenity and tiki bar open sometime in the February, March timeframe. The clubhouse, the main clubhouse will take longer. We'll finish that probably in the third quarter of 22, but we will have the tiki bar and the pool and the other associated amenities with that. So that's basically where we're at. I've had a couple people call and say, hey, you know, can you throw some extra water on there because it's real dry? And, you know, it's the old saying, it's always something. It's either too wet or too dry, but we are trying, we've asked the contractor to be sure and water daily so that it doesn't raise too much dust. And that's it.
On your 80 lots, Dwayne, how many deposits do you have on your 80, do you know?
I don't know the exact number right now because it changes every day. I mean, we got, I think, 3 more reservations over this past weekend alone, but I think we're up to somewhere close to 90 as far as direct inquiries, and I think maybe half of that is actual paid deposits.
That's not too bad then.
We haven't done any advertising. Just have a website and Facebook page, that's all we do. So what we're hoping is that we'll be able to have some people come in and spend, you know, like a few days or a week in Laguna Creek before the end of this season, because I think that's what'll really.
Now, is most of them on the outside lots, not around the lake or anything, or what do y'all?
Actually, the highest demand is for the lakefront lots. Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the projects that we talked about was having an engineer take a look at the membrane in the Welcome Center. And the reason that's come up is because in the reserve study, it was indicated that we were at its lifespan. And I had a hard time placing insurance a year ago. I didn't have any trouble just this past year, but a year ago, we had a hard time finding a carrier. So I don't know if that would be something, Dwayne, you could, it would be an engineer, I would imagine. But we should probably take a look at that this year.
Yeah.
I don't want to get caught where I can't get coverage.
Okay, yeah. We can talk about it offline and give you a recommendation on how to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on the board? Okay, we'll open it up to comments from the floor.
Here I am.
Oh, loaded.
Oh.
Diane Leffler. We have a problem with this window. I had window specialists come out. They can't fix it. They said it's in the wall. I don't know what to do next. So can we get some help?
What window?
Right here, you can see it's just eating where we recently painted, where the wonderful summer crew painted. It's already peeling. We can't put the new blinds up because it just, I don't know who to call or who to have it fixed or.
Yeah, I read something I was reading, I think when David sent out, that somebody looked at it and said they weren't sure if it was flashing or if the window was in backwards. I don't know.
The window company says it's not a window problem.
It's the flashing on the outside or stucco?
Could be, these are words I don't know.
Would there be moisture in the wall?
Because we also have a problem, because it also comes in from the carpet, from the bottom of the door, which I heard the cement needs to be raised.
Raised or lowered?
See,
Probably needs to be sloped away.
I don't know this.
Wasn't that what John Edwards was bidding on? Or was that
I
something
think
else?
Dave Blauer knew, didn't he, Britt? He knew about that, right? So I don't know, but it's getting worse. And that we're in dry season, I understand, but it's just ruining what we've done.
Yeah.
So I just, if you guys want to put that on.
I guess we'll probably have to get a masonry contractor in here, and they're gonna probably have to see what's going on with that window. Obviously, it seemed to me that there's something wrong with the flashing or lack of flashing, and the water's getting behind the stucco.
Oh.
Or, I can't imagine why it would seep just through the stucco in that area, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
So do you want me to, will you take care of it, or do you want me to, or?
Well, certainly, if you want to take care of it,
Eric's
I'd
gonna
be very
take care
happy.
of it.
Eric's going to.
Eric's gonna do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
John Matthew, B25.
I don't think you're on, John.
I don't.
John Matthew, B25. I want to talk about the fence behind B25, which I know a lot of people have talked about. I took a walk out in back, it's behind where I live, and there's some trees that are growing, but we have two fences. We have the wooden fence, and behind the wooden fence is also a chain link fence. There's a space of about 3 or 4 feet between those two fences. We own to the chain link fence, I believe, and there are trees growing there that are coming over the fence, and they're actually pulling the fence over. This is not just way down on the other end of B. This is happening all the way up and down that whole fence. I took some pictures. I could show you pictures, but I'd be more than glad to take a walk out there with anybody who wants to look at this. But the fence is, wooden fence is in bad shape as it is, and these trees are just, making it worse. Between those two fences, that whole area should be cleaned out, because eventually it's going to just pull the rest of that fence over, and then you're going to have to replace the fence. And I know it's very expensive.
John, I think I got an email from Steve Newell about that last week. I don't think he bid it yet, but I think he made a comment in one of his emails to me that he noticed that. So I'll double check back with him on that, because that's exactly what he said.
It's more than just trimming the trees back. It's more of, somebody's got to get in between those two fences. Like I say, it's about 3 or 4 feet between the two fences. If you go on the fence and look over the fence, you can see, I mean, there's one palm tree in there, the base of it's about this big. And it's huge. And then there's another tree in there, looks more of a hardwood type of tree that's just growing in all kinds of directions. And it's behind B21, I believe. And it's grown way over. It's already touching the ground, and you can see it's pulling the fence in. So it's not just happening way down behind where Judy's house is, and that where the fence is a problem down there, I know. But it's happening, that whole section behind that B fence needs to be cleaned up and cleaned out before it pulls the whole fence down.
Okay, John, thank you.
Okay, is it over?
Yeah, Pat B. brought that up last week,
Yeah.
last meeting. Pat,
Yeah.
Chuck,
Yes, I remember.
and Jeannie. right?
Because it's done,
Stephen sent me an email about something else he mentioned to me.
Yeah.
because it's down 20.
We have questions online. Deb Davis would like to know, there's 3 questions, and I'll just ask them and sit down. Deb Davis asked, is there a developer still assuming front entrance sign cost? What was the cash carryover from the audit review? And HOA has paid for the west side tree shrub trimming. That's what she wants to know.
What was that last one?
HOA has paid for the west side tree shrub trimming?
That's probably between
That's the B
and
fence.
I don't-
D and C, I would imagine.
Well, the west side of the park would be
B.
the B fence that
That's
John's
probably
just
what they were
talking
just
about.
talking about.
That's the one we just
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we were just
Okay,
talking
and then her
about.
other questions was, is the developer still assuming front entrance sign cost? What was the cash carryover from the audit?
It's like 33 something.
Well, what we've proposed to do is that we would cover half the cost of the new sign that would incorporate both our logo as well as the new logo for Cypress Woods. So that's our standing proposal. I don't know that it's ever been
34
voted on.
33, 34.
It was 34 something. Diane, tell her I'm going to post it online, but it's 34 something, and I can't find it right now.
Anyone else?
Here we go.
John McCormack, Lot B41. I think that's, as I'm listening to the conversations regarding to the 3-foot...
You hold that microphone closer, John.
The 3-foot area that's supposed to be left for drainage. I think whoever gets into that conversation with the finalization of that also has to consider that what typically happens if an area of 3 feet on each side of the 2 lots exist, eventually somebody's going to end up throwing some sort of border in there, maybe a berm, maybe they're going to plant trees, whatever. So I think it has to be really specific about what happens in that 3-foot area, not just you've got to leave 3 feet per lot. The other thing is that if you've got a lot that's on a pie, let's say, or on a circle, and each existing slab is 24 by 90, if somebody comes in and decides they want to paver all of the lot with the exception of that 3 feet, you've got to consider that the water runoff from the additional square footage of all those pavers, as opposed to a rectangle lot where you've got, you know, a 24 by 90 slab and that's the only pavers on it. But in most cases with the larger lots, it's expanded further out to almost the lot line, or to the lot line in this case here. You have that much more water runoff. So that 3 feet might have to go to 6 feet to pick up the fact that you now have that much more non-absorbative area on that lot. Again, something to consider during the process of, are we going to put this in on our bylaws, or however we're going to address that issue. And I'm sure if you sat down and thought about it, there's probably a whole lot of other areas of thought in regard to that 3-foot section. The other thing I wanted to address was, over the summer, I'd spent quite a bit of time on the new contracts with Newell and the potential bidders for our 2022 contract. And now that Dave is gone, and I was right in the middle to finalize with Mainscapes, which was one of the bidders, everything just came to a halt. And I believe that based on what we were working on and the areas in which we were gaining additional workmanship from the new contractor, along with an irrigation test that we've never had in this park since day one, that it looked like it was going to be in favor of us reducing our yearly cost for our yard maintenance and shrubbery and fertilization programs. So I'm asking at this point, where are we at in regards to the contract?
Well, we had gotten some information. I asked David some questions because not one of those proposals mentioned anything about shrub pickup.
Right.
I never got an answer to that.
Right.
And that's a big thing. And I can tell you from experience, we also have a contract with Newell that runs one more year. We changed contractors, and they come in and promised us the moon. It was Rick Roberts came in here. They bounced Newell out. Roberts was going to pick up the brush.
I was here during all that.
Halfway through the season,
Yeah.
he said almost double the budget, and we said we couldn't do it. He just walked off the property, picked up his mowers and left.
Right. Well, let me just say this. Working with the new contracts over the summer was the nuts and bolts of the contract itself. I wanted to follow up, if in fact these numbers were going to be in our favor, I wanted to follow up with going and talking to all the customers, or as many customers as we could talk to about Mainscape and what kind of workmanship they did, how they worked with regard to their contracts, and so on and so forth, before any decision was made. So it's not just a question of, yes, it's a good number. We also want to know that, yes, it's a good company, that it's going to stay with us and follow up with what the contract says. We deal with Newell. A perfect example was this week, Newell cut B section, and we have it in our contract. Bob and I and Dave established in the contract that they had to hand cut all of our common areas as regards to the circles, the areas in front of the office, the island between the entrance and exit. That was all supposed to be done by hand. Come back here this week, we got guys riding on mowers. They were not supposed to use weed whackers on edging. They were supposed to use a steel edge blade. They came right through with the weed whackers, took that grass right down to about a half-inch in height, okay, which immediately turns yellow and dies off. So we can't trust Newell to do what they say that they say they can, what they're going to do on their contract. And I'm not saying that this other company or anyone else that we get in here isn't going to be the same, but it's so consistently wrong with what Newell does for us.
Well,
It gets very frustrating.
the contract I read yesterday said that they would, B circle by your lot is to be hand mowed, one circle in D.
Right.
And the
Everything in the
town
front.
center,
And here,
3 areas were to be hand mowed.
yeah. And that's not being done.
Pardon?
Then that's not being done by hand. It's being done by driving machine. And the whole reason for that is every time they turn those wheels, they twist the grass up and kill it.
I know, and that's why this summer I was getting complaints because the grass wasn't getting mowed. And the reason it wasn't getting mowed because it was too wet, so they went in and mowed. Then the complaint I got was they tore up the grass by running their mowers through making mud tracks.
Yeah.
We've got a year on the contract with Newell, and I burn me once, fine, burn me twice, ain't happening. So you can, they're all gonna make you promises. And first of all, I don't even know if your bids are even gonna be accurate anymore, because the cost of everything is going up, fuel and insurance and labor. So before you entertain anything, you have to find out exactly what they're talking about.
That's why I'm trying to find out where we're at with all of it. Because once Dave left, I lost all communication with the park. So can you tell me at this point, what, should we go forward and follow through with this?
Well, answer one question. Are they including brush pickup? That's a big thing.
It's not just that, Pat. I had 10 questions on.
What?
I had 10 additional questions on what was going to be included in their contract, but I haven't got to them. We were supposed to do a FaceTime back in August. That never happened. So it's not just the brush. There's more to it than that.
More than
that is not included in that contract.
Well, I know, that was our question. They sent out this contract, but they were here, this is what they're recommending, this is what we got, this is what they're recommending, you switch to one of these vendors, and this is what they're going to provide, but what they're saying they're providing didn't cover important things in the park, so we're supposed to make a decision based on that?
Well, no, they did come back with additional items that Dave and I talked to that were included in the second contract.
Well, did you see it? Any additional stuff after the original? We didn't see
I
it.
can show you.
Pardon?
I can show you the contract, the first one and the second one. And as we were going along, we were adding more and more items to it that they did not include. But yet the numbers were still in line for us to be lower than what we presently paid. All I'm asking at this point here is, I spent a lot of time with this. Do we want to keep going ahead with it and seeing? I'm not saying sign a contract. I'm saying let's finish off what we did to see if, in fact, we can get a better supplier.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having a separate bid, but it's got to be inclusive, and it's got to be. We're not going to get stuck again. I'll be out of here, so it's not going to matter to me.
I don't want anything that we don't already get and more, of course.
You know, John, and I think I told you, but I took what had first come in to the office, and I tried to do a side-by-side comparison, and there was so much information missing from the other two bidders. One was extremely high, it was over $250,000.
Right.
And so you couldn't do a comparison of them, it just left a whole bunch of holes.
Yeah.
And I think even the one that was, is it Mainscape? Mainscape? Is that the one that gave us a quote from some other company? It wasn't even addressed to us.
They wrote the wrong name down on it. But understand this, though. Mainscape does a lot of work for FERC services in other areas, I'm told by Dave. So there's a start.
Well, it's the second biggest line item in our budget, so you want to be darn careful what you're getting.
Pat, you said we have another year with Newell, so if we even get a bid now, it won't be the same in a year.
We don't have another year.
Well, actually,
It's a
we've got-
yearly con-
Pardon?
We only have a yearly contract with Newell, and this year coming in January is going to be a 5% increase, which is going to run us up to 167,000 and change.
No, his increase is 10% this year.
5%. according to-
10%.
But we did 5% in
It's
October.
5%.
Last year was 5%, but because of all the costs and stuff that have gone up, we've agreed to go to the 10% because he can't do the work anymore. So that's why I'm saying you gotta check with your contractors, because $1.60 a gallon gasoline is now 3-something a gallon.
Sure.
And diesel
All
and
of it.
labor.
Of
So,
course.
get the ballot. So he's got his bids. In fact, what we have is, he just sent us the newer proposal. And that, he's got 3 years in there, but he said that was just left from the old contract. But no, if you can continue on with that, but we're gonna have to all the questions answered. It's gonna be apples to apples.
So again, the question is should we follow through and?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have another year?
Huh?
His contract's up at the end of this year.
No, he's got another year.
He's got another year.
I'm just saying.
So when you've decided on the new general manager, I would be working with him through this, correct?
Yes.
Him or her.
Him or her.
Him or her?
At least we know it's not an it.
You don't know that.
Anyone else?
Or they.
I have faith.
You don't know that.
We're not gonna get an it.
That's the trouble anymore. We don't know. We don't.
Nancy Payne, D 127 and B 28. I have a couple questions. Where do we stand on our new manager for the park?
We're having interviews right after this meeting.
Okay. Do we have candidates? Maybe I should. How would we have an interview without a candidate? Okay, all right. Oh, I'm sorry. What was my other question? I'm getting old, I'm forgetting all the time.
We have 3.
Oh, I know what it was. I'm familiar with the architecture committee. I was on it, my husband was on the board, and he was in charge of it. And there used to be monthly meetings. Is that still happening? Are you getting directions from anybody in the park? No. Isn't that part of the rules and regs, that they have to have a monthly meeting?
We have weekly meetings, but we don't have anybody.
Where's your liaison to the park? Who's in charge of the?
I think it's John Genovese.
He just resigned. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's a big missing point there, because on the architecture committee, you only know what you get from your board. And if you're not getting any information from your board, you're not having any meetings with them, I think that's where a lot of this stuff is falling through the cracks.
Jim?
Yes.
Have you ever asked to speak to me and been denied?
No, sir.
On anything?
No, sir.
Jack?
No.
Okay, thank you.
But you're not it's supposed to be, in the rules and regulations or statute or whatever it is, there is supposed to be, I don't know whether it's monthly meeting with the person that's in charge.
No, it's not the rules and regulations, that we always have a liaison from the board to the committees.
I beg to differ. I think it's there because Randy was in charge of it, and that's when he was told he had to have one, and it was in the rules and regs.
According to 720, the only committee other than the board that has to have published meetings and public meetings is architectural. Doesn't say weekly, monthly, but when they approve, when they meet to approve their stuff, that has to be done with a posted meeting.
I think there should be a board member. If the board members aren't here, somebody else on the board should be the one that goes to that meeting.
It's really a two-issue system, or never mind that. The issue really is when they see stuff out in the field that they're having issues with, it needs to come to the board and to say, look, we want to change a rule, we want to modify our rule. They're not under any obligation to approve everything that is put in front of them. If they have any hesitation whatsoever, they are absolutely empowered to say no. That leaves the owner with the ability to come to the board and ask for a second opinion. They're not supposed to be a rubber stamp.
I agree, I know that, I was on
And they need to be
the
empowered to
architectural
not be a
committee.
rubber stamp.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
720 requires them to have public meetings, and over the years, that
But there
has
is
been
a frequency to that public meeting.
No.
I know there is.
If they want to meet once a month, I sit on my ARB where my house is. They meet once a month, all right?
Okay, but houses are different than
But I'm just saying,
HOA.
well, no, it's
parks.
still, they chose a month. I don't think that's enough. But I think every week is too much. But that's my personal opinion.
Okay,
If they're willing to put the time in, I'm very grateful for it.
okay. Now, if the board person that's in charge of the architectural committee is not around or does not do these meetings, I think it should be moved to somebody else on the board.
That's also a reasonable comment. But again, I don't know that anyone's informed either way. I don't know what John
Jim and
does or
DJ, are
doesn't
you
do.
informed of anything from the board on what to do with the architectural committee, or Jack?
No, the question to ask is, have they notified the board that they have an issue? I don't know, because I haven't heard the communication. I've heard it in conversation, but I've not heard a formal request. And it wouldn't come to me, you would go to Pat.
They did.
All right.
Sat down this week when they talked about all this stuff.
All right, so they've come forward and said, we have a problem, and it's being
Okay.
dealt with.
All right, that's
It
just
should
what I
have probably
wanna
been done earlier, but at least it's now being handled.
Yeah, I mean, you come in and there's all this stuff about 3 feet and that, I mean, we've always had rules regarding that. All right, I'm finished. Are you going to keep us up to date on the manager situation?
When we decide on a manager, we'll tell you.
Okay? My other question is, I put something on the HOA board, and I did not like your response.
Well, I can't help if you don't like my response. You sat on my lot the day before, never asked a question, and then goes spreading rumors.
Pat, I went to you and asked those questions.
You
It was
did
not the
not.
baby. I did so. Nancy and you and Randy and I sat there and I asked those questions. You skipped around the subject. My comment is, I answered you back on the board thing, you deleted it. Then you blocked me from posting.
I only blocked that one comment, but I was not going to.
That post was blocked. That same night, that post was blocked.
Yes.
And then the next day I went in and the post wasn't blocked, but I was being, I couldn't publicly post on there without.
That's a
No,
lie.
I think I have the copy. I think I took a picture of it, so I think I'm right on that.
I think this is enough. We're done. I think it's enough. Thank you. We understand you're
Okay,
angry.
I'm
but that's
tired of
enough.
all the secrets in here. Everything
got
is being.
secrets?
Yes, there is.
That's
Last time
true.
we changed managers, we got a letter, and I have the letter.
We haven't changed managers
Well, I
yet.
know, but they kept us informed, and that's what I don't like. I feel something's being forced on us, and I think it's being done in secret, and I don't like it.
Well,
There's no secrecy.
What's being forced?
nuts.
I think us as as the architectural committee, we've learned a lot this summer through all the rain and everything else. And we do go to the board, Jim and I go to Pat or whoever, went to Joe, and we try to solve these problems and make adjustments, redo stuff. But I want to say one thing, the one gentleman mentioned about the pavers covering the lots. One of the things that the stormwater guy didn't bring up on the computer, and I've never heard this, that we are only allowed to cover a certain percentage of our lots. There's a whole lot of us got a whole lot more covered than we're allowed. That's true. So we might want to look into the legal part of that, because it is in the docs. He pulled it up on the computer. So are we going to open up a can of worms for ourselves on that part of it? I don't know.
I would think so.
But he said there is, you only are allowed. He pointed his finger on one lot. He said, I can tell you right now, that lot is in violation.
Remember, Dwayne gave us information.
The standard Lee County Development Code provides what they call a coverage limit
Yeah.
for lots, and
That's what he was talking about.
it's generally set at 50% is the maximum. There's a little bit of ambiguity about whether pavers count under that, or if that's just hard structures, and we should probably try to figure that out.
I think he told me in some instances, we could probably get by with 65%, but he said, that's iffy. So we got lots that's a whole lot more than 65%. So just something that would help us on okay and paver jobs,
Yeah, Jim. Can you get the mic?
That's all right, I'll talk loud enough. David was here, he would come to the meetings, and so we did have some sort of guidance in that way. Okay?
It's not about the meeting, it's just about attacking the board. That's all about.
We need to go for our interviews.
You guys have a good time, a good weekend. I think you're great. And I'd like to reserve a spot to speak next time.
Thank you, Jim.
Anybody else?
Interviewed.
Okay, can we have a motion to
I
adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't care if they say just pave the lots.